Hello everybody, I am Idiot Tunes and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a future bass drop. Now what is a future bass drop? Well, you're going to find out first in this video, and the requirements for this are you're really just going to need any kind of digital audio workspace. Right now I am using FL, but if you have something else like, I don't know, maybe LMMS, Ableton Live, Logic Pro, anything at all, you'll probably be just fine. I recommend using something on a computer, Windows 10, maybe something along the lines. But if you're working mobile, maybe this tutorial might not be for you, but it can still apply because it's really just, I guess, your musical talent, what you're putting in here, the types of sounds you're using. If you're good at your ability on working with a mobile device, you should be just fine. So let's just get straight into it. Oh, your second requirement you're also going to need to this is passion. Okay, this is a very important part. If you don't have a passion, a will to actually do this, you might not actually end up making something that great, because you have to, when it comes to music, it's a little more complicated. Your emotions can play a huge role in whatever you create. You can have literal breakthroughs in your, ability to make this, and these things are real, they actually do things. So emotions are a great influence. Having a passion, the love to do this is also something you might need. So step one, we're just going to get straight into, setting the BPM. I recommend setting the BPM first thing when you open your project, because if you don't set your BPM, well, you're kind of just doing stuff. So for a future bass track, we're going to want to go somewhere around from 140 to 190. It's that kind of fast-paced kind of thing. The reason why we do this is, I find this BPM, at least in future bass, it's a very common range for this genre, but also it makes the side chaining, whatever extra things you do when you're making this songs, it makes it flow a lot better with just this tempo. If you do it slower, it might sound off. If you do it too fast, it might sound off. But this is the golden point, when Earth is orbiting around the Earth and it reached that golden spot, life is perfect. So we went 170. I think we're gonna 160. Okay, it doesn't sound too much different, but we're gonna go with it anyway. Your step two is row. We're just really gonna get straight into it right away. We're gonna make a bass line. The kind of bass you kind of want, I really recommend some electric type stuff. Obviously, this is an EDM kind of mix, but with more impact is what you're going for. So you're gonna need something like Serum. This is a plugin that I use for my best, I guess, electronic kind of instruments. They got all kinds of amazing things here. You can really go anywhere around the internet and look for future bass kind of basses or these kinds of deep instruments, because right now you're going to want to look for something like this. Something like that. What we're looking for this something that brings a presence, I guess. Something that's really in your face. Now we get straight into the bass line. Hold on, let me take a look at my notes here. Alright, so we're about to make the bass line, but one thing I do want to mention is we're not just going to be using just one singular bass. I highly recommend layering it with other kind of bass instruments, because it'll give it the best sound. You want your best quality, and I find this the easiest way to get your quality by just, adding a little more to it. Let's go find your key. First of all, find whatever key you like. I like this one. I love this. Now, we're going to turn on this tempo right here, and we're going to listen to it. We're going to make it a long one. We're going to do something different at the end, but we're not going to have it just simple like this. Don't worry. Relatively simple, we're not trying to go too crazy on this one, but we will do some little tricks and little gimmicks to make this sound better. Now I put on another bass, like I said, you do want to layer them. Let's give it a listen. Nice. That sounds really good, actually. I really like how that sounds. We might want one more, actually. One more little bass. This is called a sub bass. It's not really something you hear entirely. Why isn't it let me switch the thing? We're going to use this sound. This sound it gave us, this default one. No, not this one. I'm going to go for this little drone bass I hear. But, find something. Find your own instruments. There you go. We matched it. We just had to put in an octave higher. Now that you have finished your absolutely wonderful bass line, we're going to get straight into step 3, and this is a continuous step. What this means is we're going to be doing this repeatedly throughout the song as we're making it, because I'll just explain it. We got to mix this bass line here. After you make something, or you're in the middle of making something, I highly recommend mixing it while you're working on your song. Some people like to mix their song afterward, but I just don't think that's the way to go, because you can hear your final product, quote unquote, like at the beginning of your making of this, and you can just make changes you normally wouldn't if you mixed it after. When you mix it after, you're like really drained after making everything in the song. You're like, man, I just want to get this over with already. I think it sounds awesome, and you just want to get it done. But if you do all these things right here in the middle of it, it's like you have more energy. You have more energy in this area, and you're here for, I guess, a little longer. It tricks you to being here a little longer to spend extra time on your song. Right now, we're just going to, give this some type of, what is this plugin? It's a Dynamics. I don't know what this is, but this is a sound goodizer. Basically, to put it simply, it makes it sound good. It's in the name. So, it's really loud right now, but we're going to fix that in just a moment. You'll just see with the power of mixing. Nice. We got that amazing bass. Let's turn all these down. Sounds wonderful. Let's give it an EQ. This is Fruity Parametric EQ2. Whatever DAW you're using, more than likely it has an EQ plugin. Basically, what this does is it allows you to change the volumes of certain frequencies in your instrument or in your track, whatever you are doing. Whatever audio you are working with, you can mess with the frequencies. Like, for example, if I just want these higher ends up here, like that buzziness, and I want to take out the bass, I'll just take it out. This lower end is your deeper kind of notes, and this higher end is your higher notes. It doesn't sound as bassy as it did earlier, but if we do it vice versa, now it sounds much more, it's just those deeper ends. Now that we got the basics understanding of what EQ does, let's work with it. How are we going to work with this? Usually with a bass, maybe we'll want to pick it up a little bit, take out these higher ends a little bit more. Maybe lift this like edge up a little bit because we want a little bit of buzziness in here. There we go. What I also like to do, sometimes I really like to put chorus on my bass. Fruity chorus, I don't know. It just makes it sound good, I guess. I can't really explain what this one really does, but all I know is that it does that. We're going to end this off with a, what is this? This is a limiter, basically. It limits how loud your thing can be. So this is the threshold, you can set it, and this is the post. Usually in like any kind of DAW setting, any kind of, workspace you might have, usually there's a plugin that allows you to limit things. So whatever limiter you might have in your DAW, or maybe whatever you have downloaded, you can use this. There we go. Sounds cool. Now basically we're going to kind of repeat that process to the other ones. Now this is the drone bass. This is where I'm going to play with the EQ a little bit differently. This, we want it to be a sub bass. It's not actually meant to be loud and really there in your face. It's really meant to be in the background to like support that emptiness that might be there. There we go. That is perfect right there. Let's get this soft clipper in. Let's give it a little bit of reverb. Now that you are done with step 3, mixing your instrument, which we will continue to be doing throughout this entire thing, we move on to step 4, and that is making your chord progression. Now, when making a future-based chord progression, you're not just going to use your 3 notes for your chords, your the little freaking C, E, whatever, G. No, we're going to want to use like around 5 or 6, and I will show you just how to do this. We're going to use an instrument, something like a saw, something that has like a buzz or like an electronic vibe to it, because like I said, if you use acoustic instruments, you draw yourself away from a futuristic sound. So just strictly use these electronic instruments to really get this style down. So let's get straight into these chords. Now, first we have to know what key we're in. So obviously we're going to take a look here. C, D, E, F, F sharp. We're in F sharp. Looks like we're in F sharp minor. We're going to make our chords pattern. You can really use any plugin you want, any kind of instrument you may have in your little sounds, one-shots, whatever it is. But it has to sound something like this. Let's just get rid of the delay on that. Something like that. I think there's another one. Hypersaw layered. Even this is fine. Even that's good. I'm going to use Hypersaw Basic just because it's the most basic thing I can do right now. So like we said, we're in F sharp minor. So we're going to start with this key. Maybe we want to go up like another octave. Now. We start following the bass line. You know, when the bass goes up, we go up with our chords. And when it goes down, we go down. But it looks like it's just up, up, and then down. So let's do that. Now, we're going to take this top note. We're going to select all of them. We're going to copy it, paste it, and bring it down 1 octave. Now, we're going to do the same with this bottom note from that entire chord. And we're going to bring it up an octave. Look at 5 notes. See, it makes your chords more stretched out, I guess. It makes them more large, more impactful. It shows you that, hey, we're these chords and we're here and we're like a big drop in the song. This is like the climax of it. We're making the climax of the song, basically. Now, we obviously need to mix it back to step 3. Do we want to put a chorus on it? Let's find out. Let's give it a little, we're going to give it actually not just a little reverb. We'll add 1 more to follow the bass, but like, you know, it's like a bass note in the chords. We got 6. Step 5. So for this melody, we're going to use something like a lead or a square. Anything that sounds super cool, I guess. Anything that sounds like, what's the best way I could explain it? Well, I guess I'll just have to show you what it sounds like, I guess, because I can't really put it into words, you know. Let's get to our melody. We might actually want to extend that a little bit. We're going back to Serum. This is like literally the best plugin to make any kind of EDM track. Let's find a lead. Something like this kind of works, actually. Something like this will work. We're just going to have to mix it. Mixing changes so much with your instruments. Don't just listen to your instrument and be like, oh, it doesn't immediately sound great with the song. I'm not going to use it. See the potential in it. See the potential on what you can do to it with mixing, to your mixing knowledge. You know, maybe you know a few things on like what distortion is. I don't know what a limiter is, how to make things sound louder, how to change their frequencies to make them sound different from what they originally sounded like. So we're going to do something like that now. Let's mix it. Make it loud, a little obnoxious. Give it some EQ. Put it below the reverb so it doesn't affect the reverb. Now, this is one of the most important parts of actually EQ. When it comes to instruments like these, there are certain frequencies that are just a little too loud, but they're like little tiny parts and they like pinch your ears a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. You can find them much easier by, I guess, turning this little thing into a needle. My EQ can do this. If somebody else's EQ can do this, I guess you're golden. You can find things like that. Look inside like this little waveform it's got going here. This peak point, usually these little peak points are like the loudest points. And that's ear raping. It is absolutely horrible on the ears. So we're going to turn it down a little bit. We're going to make it, I guess, bigger. Now we're going to do the same for whatever other points might be here. There's one. Yep. Drag it down. There we go. Now those parts aren't as, you know, infuriating. Now, we are going to move on to the next step, which is actually step 6, making our drums. I lied to you. We aren't going to get into chopping it yet. We got one more step before we do that. Step 6 is make your drums. Now, if you don't include your drums, you kind of just got a dead beat. I'm not even going to lie. This sounds cool. Yeah, but it doesn't exactly sound like a drop. It sounds more like a bridge right before a drop. But this is supposed to be the drop. How do we make this good, Idiot Tunes? Please tell me. Well, I have a kit right here. I probably could link this one in the description. It has like these couple good kicks. I titled it Drums Hard. These are your hard-hitting kicks. You want something that's there, in your face, very loud. You want something like this. These are punchy. We might be using that snare. Hold on. Okay. Find the kick you want. I'll be using kick 3. Now, immediately, we're going to want to put this to whatever track we possibly can. And we're going to mix this kick. We're going to EQ it so we can change some parts of it. We're going to take out these little higher ends. Now we're going to put in our snare. We're going to get creative with these drums. I'm going to make this unique as sample. Basically, it means it's basically... my studio basically identifies this as 2 different sounds. It's not the same as this one, which means I can reverse this one without affecting that one. We need a hi-hat, so we're going to go here. I like that one better. I guess this is technically part of step 6, but I'm also going to, I guess, title it step 7 as well, just to, I guess, get an A on this video. Sidechaining, it's part of the drums, but also kind of its own separate step if you want to include. I highly recommend you include it. So this is probably the most important part of your drums. Sidechaining basically lowers the volume whenever the kick hits, and makes it sound much more impactful. It makes it feel like all the instruments are being guided by the drums themselves. Without sidechaining, you could draw out your kicks, or the sounds of the instruments and kicks will clash and sound bad. How we're going to do this sidechaining is, well, this is really how I can do it on my DAW. I'm not too sure how one can do it on their own, but I'm more than sure we have a lot of similar abilities in our different studios. A lot of us can do like similar things just in a different way. So we're going to take all our instruments. We know everything here is an instrument, so we don't have to worry about accidentally putting a drum in there. We're going to route this track over to this one over here in 22. And we're going to mute it from the master. So it won't be playing it here. It'll be playing it here so it plays in the master. Basically, we're putting all these mixed tracks into one so they all still have their proper mixing without having to, I don't know, try to mix them all in one thing. What's this? We made it all one track. It doesn't do anything, really, in terms of sound, but you can make it do anything in terms of sound. By hitting create automation clip right here, you create this little thing that allows you to change the volume. Like you can make it go louder or quieter by simply adjusting this. So we're going to create a little point right here. Just right click and put it right under every kick. We'll repeat the drums. Now we're getting to the juicy part. Step 8 is chopping your chords, or chopping your beat, I guess. Basically, what we want is maybe we want it to be silent on certain parts and we want the instruments to come in on a different part. We can do it by chopping. There we go. Now, it may seem like we're done, but we actually quite aren't. We got step 9. Add sound effects. Add things like crashes, percussion, texture, or just some sounds that are really just cool. You don't have to think too much into it. You could add sound effects, like fill in those parts that just feel empty. You could have a sound effect that's just literally butthole liquor, and it will do just fine. Anything at all can do just fine. You could just mix it, master it however you want, as long as it fits, as long as it sounds nice to you. Okay, I can't seem to find any like open hat or any kind of different crash sound that I could possibly use. So we have a solution. We're gonna make this unique. It's just literally the same one we had. We're not gonna mess with that. It's the same one we literally. Oh my god, it's the same one we literally had, but we're just gonna make this one unique, and we're gonna mix it differently. We're gonna put in 34. We're gonna put the crash at the beginning. You know, let's say we had a whole build up to this, and this is your drop. This is the crash. It's to like lean you into this like, whoosh, you know. That sounds good with this one. Okay, cool. Now, of course, we're gonna make another one. Make this unique. We're gonna reverse this one, and this will transition us into our next, I guess, beat, our next part. whenever the kick comes in on like the start again, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. This will drag us back into 1. And maybe we'll drag it a little bit. Step 10, you grab a drink, you pop that sucker open, and you enjoy your future bass drop. You can use the stems you made to, you can edit them and make a full length song if you want, if you have that kind of, music knowledge. But other than that, thank you so much for watching to the very end of this tutorial. It was really fun making this. I think you would find this tutorial a little better than the ones out there because it's a little more DAW friendly. I tried to just explain hey, you don't need to use exactly these instruments. Go out and seek your own. There's a lot of really good free ones. You don't have to pay for an expensive pack or anything or try to spend your freaking life savings trying to get these plugins because there's a lot of free things on the internet, okay? Other than that, I'm Idiot Tunes. Peace out and enjoy your song.